From Memphis, Tennessee to Salt Lake City, Utah. From San Antonio, Texas to Chickasaw, Oklahoma. Let's ride. We want to ride shotgun with you for the next hour, talking trucking with Dean and Doty. How's it going, everybody?
Yo, I'm good, Russ.
Glad to have you back, Mike.
Yeah, glad to be back.
Yeah.
Glad to be feeling better. The whole nine.
Yeah, drivers. So joining us, you can see him on the screen. Scott Hinshelwood. Did I say that right, Scott?
You did. Yep.
All right. Scott Hinshelwood from St. Jude's here to accept our donation to the St. Jude's Hospital. We appreciate you joining us. It's been a really fun drive for about 3 months or so for us to do this. So Scott, can you give us a little background about yourself and your journey to work there at St. Jude's and what you
Yeah.
guys are
So
doing?
I thank you. First of all, thank y'all for having me on, and thank you guys for all that you've done. But yeah, so my journey, for the last 24 plus years, I've worked for St. Jude on the fundraising side, helping raise money in different capacities, working currently with a lot of different in the country music industry. But before then, back when I was in high school, I was a 15-year-old high school freshman. It just happened to be living in Memphis. We'd moved from North Carolina for my dad's job out here, and right before, and had a sore ankle that I was a basketball player, so we just limped around for several months until finally my mom made me go to the doctor to get it checked out, and they found a tumor on May 1st of 1990. And so on May 2nd of 1990, I walked into St. Jude Children's Research Hospital with osteosarcoma, which is the most common form of bone cancer. And they quickly did a lot of x-rays, a lot of scans to ensure that the cancer hadn't spread. It was just a tumor in my ankle, and I was blessed that it hadn't gone to my lungs or anywhere else. So I started on chemo that May and continued on and did chemo through about the end of June. In late June of 1990, they did a ballooning amputation of my left leg to ensure that they got the tumor and anything surrounding it. And then continued on chemo through March of 91. Luckily for me, like I said, it hadn't spread, it hadn't gone anywhere else. The chemo got it and the surgery. And so from there, when I got off chemo in March of 91, I finished high school, went to college, got out and started working for St. Jude right out of college. And so I've been there, like I said, almost 25 years now. I'm alive today because of St. Jude, and there's more and more kids walking out alive because of the work we're doing and because of money like you guys are raising for us.
So you started out with pain in your foot and ended up with bone cancer. Wow.
Right. Yeah. It was a sore ankle. I had I was a basketball player. So I think I wore an ankle brace for 2 or 3 months, and I'd soak my ankle every night in ice thinking it was, just a sore ankle. And, you're 15 years old. You don't really slow down much. You just want to keep doing everything with your team and with everybody else. So it just happened to be, I was real lucky that I didn't break the leg. Typically with a tumor weakening the bone, it would have broken, but I was real lucky in that respect too.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we're so happy for you that, St. Jude's was there and took care of you, and you're here today. What a great story.
Yeah, what a great story. Yep.
Yeah. So
has it been in remission ever since?
Yes. So I go back, I went back every several months, and then it was every year. And then nowadays for St. Jude survivors, St. Jude pioneered about a dozen years ago now, the largest pediatric cancer survivor study in history. So now they're bringing somebody like me in my middle age back, and they're every few years, and they'll do a full workup on me to see any side effects. So one of the things that they can do now is look, and they know that I may have some heart damage. They worry about my kidneys from some of the chemos, because a lot of times, it's really just kind of a poison that they put in. It kills cancer cells, right, but it certainly can cause some other damage as well. So they're learning from us as we grow older, and anything that they see, they can, hopefully tweak what they're doing for kids now to make it a little bit less toxic and still kill the cancer. So I'm blessed that I still get to go back, even though I work there now, but I still go back, and patients from all over the country come back that are survivors and kind of go through a full workup to help further the research.
Yeah. So is there the main hospital? Is that the only facility there in Memphis?
Great question. Yeah. So St. Jude, the main hospital is located in Memphis, and it was founded in 1962 by Danny Thomas, the legendary comedian. And we're actually celebrating our 60th anniversary coming up on February 4th. But the hospital shares its research freely with the world. So anything that we discover, anything that we learn, we immediately share. We do have some affiliate clinics around the country that in different hospitals that affiliate with us, and we certainly treat patients there and share our research with those and any doctor and researcher around the world. We treat kids regardless of race, creed, religion, or ability to pay. And we take care of their travel, their lodging, their meals, and all of their medical costs. So when you're a St. Jude family, you're just worried about your child getting well. You're not having to worry about, we put you up in a place to stay. We've got housing on campus. We take care of a meal card for you and grocery cards for you. So while you're in town, you're able to, get food and all of that. And then of course, all of your medical is taken care of. And we even take care of getting you to Memphis, whether that's paying your gas or flying you here from all 50 states and over 70 foreign countries.
That's great.
Awesome.
So what year did you say it's been, it was founded in what year?
Not 1962.
Oh, wow.
So we're coming, did I say 19? I think I said 60. Sorry, 1962. And so this coming up in February is our 60th anniversary.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So on our fleet, the Dawson fleet, drivers from other companies, we're here in Barberton, Ohio, the Gator drive-through, Al's Market, just so many people, whether they were, part of our company or drivers from other companies, they got involved. And I know Christian, last week, one of your drivers who's been down for a while.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Wesley Rolls, he watches the show. He's actually out here in the yard now. And he just said, hey, I just want to make sure it's not too late. I want to make sure I give something. So, and I think that's the cool thing. It's not always how big or how small a donation is, but it is the heart of the mission,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we said we've had people give $10. We had people give a lot more. I want to thank Meadowlark, our parent company, that right after last week's show, Mandy Roth donated $1,000 to the,
wow.
So that helped us get to where we are. So Zach, can you share on the screen where we're at?
Yes, I can.
Here's the check, Scott.
Wow.
$5,000.
That's
There you
awesome.
go.
Talkin Truckin.
Wow.
We are very proud to do it. I've actually never been involved in a fundraiser like this, and it was so much fun. And I know I just want to say this. There's so many names I can name, but just from AC, our driver, his wife walked in our office today. AC's out on the road. She walked in and dropped off a check. Ray, Kevin, Nate, Jim Mackey, everybody, Lee, everybody's been a part of this. So many other drivers, people in our office. So Mike Doty donated, and then we did some donations on the show. And then last week, Mike's make it another 150. I mean, it just kept going up everywhere we looked. So
Yeah. And some of that was from, I want to thank, some of my guys, they sent me some gift cards for Christmas. So I went ahead. That's kind of where some of that extra money came from, Russ. I went ahead and just put it with the money that I was already given to the St. Jude. So,
Yeah. And speaking of
appreciate
giving,
the Christmas present, guys, but I told them I was gonna,
yeah. And speaking of giving, if guys are watching this and they're still compelled to send something in, it's not like we have a time limit. We have to cut it off in one check. So it all goes to benefit the children. So that's, get it in when you can.
Yeah, I will say, Scott, it may be a few dollars over the 5,000. Kumar and I, what we're going to do, Mandy Roth overnighted her check, and so we're going to wait. It should be here tomorrow. So by Friday, Kumar's got the address to send everything to. So we're going to send you 2 checks, one from Mandy Roth, her 1,000, and then we'll write the other check from here, and it'll get in the mail by Friday. So if anybody, like Christian said, if anybody else throws something in or what have you, we'll add it to that. But $5,000. So Scott, what kind of help does that do for you guys? Is that?
Yeah, that's incredible. So that's going to go towards, that's going to patient care. That's going to patient care and research. So it'll be for patients when they walk in the hospital. Obviously right now with COVID and everything going on there, it'll take care of any kind of COVID testing we'll need to do. And obviously getting into their treatment, it covers anything that we need for treatment. And then just as important as the research, it goes to the researchers to figure out why these kids have cancer and what we can do to eliminate cancer. And I mean, Danny Thomas's dream was that no child should die in the dawn of life. And that's what money like this helps us do, is help his dream come true one day.
Wow, that's great.
Well, not only that, you guys lift the burden off the parents by providing them with houses so they don't have to worry about anything while their child is in treatment, right? So you're taking care of.
Right.
That's what St. Jude does. A lot of the housing and anything that goes along with.
Travel, housing, and food. All of it's taken care of by here at St. Jude. Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Scott,
So
it's
I'm
funny.
sure that's a huge burden lifted off the parents,
Oh,
aside from their child having cancer, but I mean, all the stuff that goes along with bills and everything else, those don't stop.
Yeah, no, I was the actual patient. So it was, now that I'm a parent and have kids of my own, I can't imagine what my parents were going through when, when you hear the words, your child has cancer. It's one thing when you're the child, but it's another when you're the parent. And
Sure.
I've been blessed my kids are healthy, but the fact that my parents didn't have to sell their house or max out their insurance or any of those type things to try to get me treated. And that's what we removed from the parents. Like you said, they're just focusing on their child. They don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Cool. What were you going to say, Christian?
I was going to say, you were talking about country music earlier, and there's an artist, his name is James Otto.
Yep.
And he had a song a while back. I think it was called Where Angels Hang Around.
Right.
And it was, I guess that was about kind of his emotional relation to St. Jude's. And I just, he was an artist that I listened to back when Big and Rich and a couple of the other guys were becoming pretty popular. And that was a song that always kind of, if you haven't thought about the impact that St. Jude's has or the emotional toll that it has on a parent, that'll definitely keep you grounded.
We've been blessed. The country music industry has been supporting St. Jude since the late 80s. Randy Owen from the group Alabama met Danny Thomas, and Danny challenged Randy to get country radio and country music involved. And since that point, we've had millions of dollars raised from the country music industry. So that's great. We're blessed. Yeah. So James Otto, I've met him before. A great dude.
Mm-hmm.
My camera went out, but I'm still here. They're working on it behind the scenes. But you guys got anything else for Scott? Before we let him go?
I do. I have one question. What is
Sure.
the capacity for rooms and care in Memphis?
We have the hospital right now only has about 80 inpatient beds. Now we treat 250 to 300 kids a day on an outpatient basis because our goal is not to put you in the hospital. We like to, if at all possible, get you treated, and then you get to go back to the lodging facility and be around other families and be around your family so that you can not be trapped in a hospital room. So 200, and we've got about 5,000 patients in active status, meaning patients that come in throughout the year for treatment or checkups or whatever. So the hospital itself is only 80 beds.
Yeah, that's a huge reach though. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Scott, we're going to do this again next fall. We're going to, as our show grows, hopefully our giving to St. Jude's will grow. And I will tell you this, as long as Christian, Mike, Doty, and our staff in here, Joel, Ian, Zach, Kumar, all our drivers that are normally on the show, as long as we're doing it, and every fall we'll be doing something for St. Jude's from now on.
I'd be honored to be a part of it. Let me know any way I can help you. And like I said, if you ever coming through Memphis, hopefully you can figure it out. I'd love to show you around campus.
That would be great. Yeah. So $5,000 for St. Jude's. Thanks everyone for giving.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you guys for everything you do.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Scott, take care, buddy.
Good, man.
So joining us this week, I didn't intro it, but joining us this week, Ray, Jamaki, Nate, Kevin, and Lee. We're going to do, that's our drivers that are on with us, Trucking News with Ian Dunlap. Christian Sneed, Mike Doty, and myself will go over some trucking market update. I know Mike's got a few things a little bit different than the market this week, and Christian's got some stuff to go over. Then we'll do Wide World Sports with Joel Howell, and we've got, last week we did the movies, so we're not going to do, we didn't do the trucking questions with Kumar, but we've got Joel came up with some good questions for Kumar and our drivers this week, so we'll do that. Also, I wanted to say, I listened to Talk CDLs. They shouted us out over the Christmas holiday. We're really thankful for that. We don't know them. But I listened to their show this past week, the newest show that's up. It was really good. So Troy and Ruth Ann, I know that Kumar reached out and sent an email, and they said that they would come on our show. So I'm looking forward to when Kumar gets that set up, we can talk a little bit with Troy and Ruth Ann. That'd be really cool. But again, thank you for them for shouting us out. They're a pretty well-established trucking podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm off screen just so everybody knows something's wrong with our camera, but they're fixing it. I don't know what's happening, but I'm here.
Can you just get
So
a new camera?
yeah, we just got that camera.
We sure did.
Man, if they say don't make them like they used to, they're not talking about you
Right.
long ago.
It must be the same brand as Christian's new computer that went out last
Wow.
week.
Wow. I'd like to
You
let
know what I
everybody
did?
know. No
I
offense
still
to
have that.
HP.
I still have the same camera. You know, the original cameras we bought, Russ. The plug in the back was starting to go out, and all I did was take a pair of needle nose and pinch the plug a little bit so it fit tighter.
And it worked.
Been working ever since.
Well, maybe we should have done ours. That's exactly what happened to ours, and we
Yeah, because it like wiggled loose and it wouldn't charge or stay
Yeah,
on. So I just
right.
pinched
You
it
didn't
a
have
little
needle
bit right
nose
in the middle
pliers.
with a pair of needle nose and tightened it up a little bit.
But
And
this
speaking
new,
of-
this
Go ahead.
new camera is it's the newest GoPro, right, Kumar? I mean,
Yes, like the GoPro 8 you got.
Yeah, or it's like
something
the
like
no GoPro.
yeah, I
Right.
don't understand. This is the second time we've had a problem with it.
So we're going to go on to Ian with the news.
To the news.
Crescent wrench don't work.
Speaking of broken things, when are you going to get your chair in, man? Every
I know,
week
I was
I look
just
for you to
gonna
get
ask.
that chair.
I've been this dude, man. He's been I don't know. He's had real problems getting his sewing machine to work. I guess running.
Yeah, so Mike's
the
ordered a
thick
new
thread through.
chair, and it's been his leaning chair, his green leaning chairs.
Leaning chair of profit.
Look at it.
He needs needle nose pliers.
Yeah,
All right, we'll go ahead and get into some news stuff. We'll start with the port. It seems that things are definitely dying down there. There are still a ton of containers, though, empty containers that are left there. They have decided to extend the empty container fee delay. They are now pushing it out another week. This was supposed to start mid-November, and they just continually pushed it out. So to me, it seems like they're more of letting these companies get away with it when they told everyone they were going to try and fix the problem by putting this this fee on there. They haven't used it at all, and they've just let it go on and on and on. So they are saying it's getting slightly better, but as from what I can see, there are still plenty of container ships waiting outside the harbor. Maybe not
How's
as
that
many as
light?
there were.
Has that lightened up some because they sent some north to the ports in
Well,
Oregon and Washington?
a lot of it's just
Corpus Christi.
down to they got most of what they needed to in before the holiday season, and this is always kind of a slow time of the year after the holidays. But yeah, they are getting worked through. So as far as north goes, yeah, there's still there's actually a bunch up in San Francisco in the Bay there, and then wow, actually pretty busy up here in Seattle, so, and Vancouver. So let's go check out Florida as well. Miami, it's about as busy as I've ever seen it. Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. And Tampa, over by you, Mike, it's a little bit busier than it has. You actually have boats waiting out here in the harbor, or outside the harbor. That's Jimmy Buffett's boat. All right, moving on. There was a crash over in near Rogers, Arkansas. I wanted to show you guys. This was a truck that was carrying sawdust. Went on his side.
where is that at?
Oh,
Rogers, Arkansas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Back it up. Wow.
Yeah. That guy was smart. So
sawdust goes up quick.
yeah, it does. Any kind of powder like that will want to explode. And then here's a funny one, kind of. A driver was solely relying on his GPS to get him from A to B.
Oh no.
And he went down the GPS led him down a very thin and icy road, and that looks like Dollar General.
Yeah,
went
that's
into the
DG.
ditch.
Yeah,
Almost
yeah.
double.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being the dispatcher and getting that? He's like, I'm stuck. My tires are moving. And then you're like, well, send me a picture. You're like, where are you?
Yeah. And so I know this happened years ago when I was at Swift, when getting my training in.
Mhm.
There was a driver that pulled into a place, and you know what a runoff pond is? That's where a facility's built.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and so they, all the water, they make a pond there, so that the water sheds to it. Well, it was snowing. It was up north, somewhere up here, and the snow had, you couldn't, when you get a couple of feet or foot of snow, or it looks like a pond could look like a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the driver pulled onto the pond and was trying to find out where to go.
It was frozen.
Yeah, and luckily it was so frozen that it didn't sink. It must have been
wow.
frozen for a long time, but yeah, I saw pictures of it at my terminal there at Swift. They were showing everybody, so we would. And the moral of the story is, don't just rely on your GPS. Get out an atlas.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look at an atlas. Know where you're going. Know what you're doing.
Have
And if
yellow lines on the pond.
and if you pull into a facility and there's no tracks, you're the first truck there, and there's snow. Most places do have runoff ponds around them somewhere. If you don't know where to drive, get out and walk. Esco always said that. I'll get out and put my brakes on, or my park brake, or my hazards on, get out and walk and find out where to go. Lee told me that the other day. He had the same situation in Pennsylvania a week or so ago, and he said that he just pulled the brakes and got out and walked and found out where to drive at a facility. So
I use Google a lot.
yeah, you can
Google,
zoom
they
in.
don't have the snow on the ground. It's always usually
That's a good
well,
idea.
bare
That is a
ground.
good idea.
Yeah.
You can zoom in over the facility. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if
Yeah.
you do feel like either uncomfortable or unsure if your GPS is taking you the right route, it's always good to double check.
Well, not just that. Use Google for looking at your route or
Mhm.
looking to see if you think trucks can go there. I used Google to see if shippers and receivers had parking nearby, or you can get in and out somewhere, or if his GPS was pushing him this way, if he would have just used Google Maps or something and looked,
Well,
he probably would have saw and said, "It doesn't look like I can fit down there."
It's not the road for me.
Google's very
Yeah.
good at telling you what building is what business also.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where
Yeah, I
your
used to-
GPS is a lot of times I've found that they'll give you the address, but it's close to where you have to go. It's not
Mhm.
exact.
Yeah. Plus, for your deliveries, a lot of times you can click on the street view and actually read the signs that are going into your delivery
Mm-hmm.
and see exactly where to pull before you get there. So yeah, with technology now, there's a bunch of tools you can use so that doesn't happen.
It helps so much every single day.
Doppler radar.
Yeah, usually the truck GPS it'll usually just get you to the gate. And if you look at Google Maps, it'll tell you where they are in the suites. Like there could be 4 or 5 different suites in a building,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll even tell you that.
All right, and then last thing I got, Love's has opened 4 new stores, service stations. We have Great Falls, Montana. Everyone knows where that is. This is Drayton, North Dakota, off of the 29, way out middle of nowhere. We have Pacific Junction down in Iowa. It's just south of Omaha, also on the 29. And then Dalhart, Texas. Not that anyone's going out there anytime soon. It's in the middle of nowhere, northwest of Amarillo.
I was just through there last week.
Well, you could have stayed there.
Imagine that. All the places you named,
There now.
none of those places are known for having trouble finding parking.
Right. Yeah, we need
I can
4
think
more
of a
right in
lot better
Florida.
places they could have put a couple
Right.
truck stops.
I have noticed though a lot of the Loves
Right
have
about
added on to their parking.
Have they?
Really?
Yeah, I've
saw-
seen several of them.
I saw something, Ian, where they were adding like 4. I don't know how many new locations, but it equaled up to 4,000
wow.
new parking spots.
Wow.
And I thought that was Love's.
We have a Love's being built right down the road from my house.
Yeah, you brought that up on the news a couple times.
Yeah. They are almost done. They put up the sign. So
Okay,
very soon they'll be open.
good. 'Cause,
Yeah, I want to
they're-
say they're opening quite a few locations this year.
Mhm.
'Cause that
And I
TA
read somewhere that it was 4,000 parking spots.
if drivers come up 77 when you get into the Canton Akron area, there's a TA. I think it's exit 110 or 111. That's really the off of 77 near Akron, Canton, Cleveland, anywhere near there. That's the only truck stop unless you go to Lodi.
There's a pilot that's south of Canton.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But that TA, man, I used to try and get in there. There's not much parking there.
Yeah,
It's pretty small.
I mean, in Akron there is nothing. There is
Right. So-
nothing.
Cleveland's the same way. You got to get on the outside, either east or west of it to find anything.
Yeah, or park on that McDonald's that's over
I
by
used to-
Brecksville.
Oh yeah, that's a real small in
Yeah.
Richfield. That's a real
Yeah.
small Flying J or pilot. You know what I used to do, and we mentioned this on the show before. When I was coming home, and I had a delivery, like let's say I was getting home on the weekend, but I delivered Monday. I would park behind the facility. If it was closed, you knew you could find out if it was closed. I just park at the facility or behind, because in Cleveland, a lot of places don't have gates, at least the ones I was delivering to. And I'd leave my truck there and go home and then come back Monday morning early and get it. Or if it was during the week where I was delivering the next day, because there's just nowhere to park in Cleveland area, I would park behind a facility, even if it wasn't my delivery. If it didn't have a gate, I'd pull behind it and park and then leave early and go to my delivery. That was the kind of tricks I did. Ian, thanks for the news. And we're going to get on to Christian. Christian's put together some stuff, some occupancy, and some of the things that his drivers have been doing. Christian, what do you got?
Sure thing. Sharing it now. Let me know when you guys get it on your screens.
Got it.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd really like to thank some of the sponsors that we have here. I know after last week, I put together the Fiore edition. If you guys don't know, the side hustle of being a model is already starting to be a mainstream gig.
Who
Jimmy
photoshopped
Choo, man.
all this?
Yeah, I did. It's
So just
exceptional.
anybody watching the show, Christian's picture in the beard contest. We all gave him a hard time, said he looked like a cologne advertisement. So Matthew, my son that does the video production on this, we were trying to make fun of him, and we named him Christian Fior instead of Christian Dior, and on last week's show. So this is where this is coming from.
And for those that don't know, because I didn't, I thought it was like a kind of funny, hey, you're a cologne guy. No, it's a perfume. It's 100% a perfume. So, and then we have the next one, which is my second sponsor, which is Calvin Klein. With People Smoke. And last, I got into some television shows. I don't know if you guys know Casey and Mr. Dutton, but they were
He's on
nice enough to have
Yellowstone.
me on. That's it.
Christian watched 2 episodes of Yellowstone, and now that's how he dresses.
That's it. That's it. It's been hanging in my closet ever since. So we'll move on to the occupancy-based revenue report. I've got 5 guys here from the Meadowlark fleet, and what we'll see is a majority of the guys worked a pretty good week. I didn't fill in some of the information accurately on their occupancy, but most of them are 71 to 85%. And what we're going to measure here is not so much how much revenue they have, but how much work they put in to have it. The first one up is Robert Freeman. He came from time off over the new year. Like most guys that go home for Christmas, they're ready to come out and make some money. And he dropped on Monday in Raleigh, North Carolina. From there, he had a load back to our customer up in Groveport, Ohio. From our customer back to our customer. And then that, continued through the rest of the week. So we went right back down to Durham. He reloaded up down there in North Carolina, came back up to Ohio, reloaded from our customer again, and went right back down to Georgia. You'll see that he did 2,800 miles at over $3 a mile. His total gross revenue was $8,550 on a target of $7,500 as their minimal achievable target. So he's about $1,000 over what the expected gross target would be. The next driver is Bernard Bellinger. He drives a reefer. Robert, the previous gentleman with $8,500, drives the dry van. So Bernard is a reefer driver. He's on what we call entrusted dispatch, which is where he has experience booking his own loads. He does a good job at it. And from time to time, they'll call in, and whatever they don't learn on the show, they can learn in from calling in and talking to Chris and Amanda and the rest of the group inside the office. He made a delivery that started out on Monday, which was a 1,300-mile run. I paid $4,000 at just over $3 a mile. And from there, from South Carolina, he reloaded himself about 1,150 miles up to Massachusetts. Again, $3.46 a mile going up there. If anybody's been up to Massachusetts in a reefer, it's about 20 or 25 loads per truck. So it's a pretty good area to be in to come on out of.
Speaking of that,
yeah.
Christian, just touching on that. So
Yeah.
our company driver, Jesse, Mike Doty, booked him out of, I sent him up to Vermont, and he delivered in Vermont Monday morning. And Mike booked him $8,000 to, I don't know what, 2,500 miles to Vegas. And I was shocked. I did not think we were going to get that rate out of there, but Mike had that handled real early Monday morning. So yeah, it wasn't bad this week.
Well, you've got too.
Well, and so that kind of proves that when you know what the market is, that you can capture it. So, and we'll talk about him coming out of Massachusetts here in a little bit. But what you show on the rest of the week, which I didn't fill in the information, which is why his occupancy is not showing 100%, but he's going to San Antonio. So that's about 2,000 miles. So you'll get to see the comparison between dropping in Vegas and dropping over there in San Antonio. Justin Boyd, he's on our fleet. He is managed by our office. He's out of Virginia. So he took off on Monday. Must have want to hang out a little bit over the New Year's. And then he came out, delivered in Akron, Ohio on Tuesday. Then he went to North Carolina, and he did a lot of the same thing. We reloaded him with our customer freight back up in Ohio, and then from there back out to Kentucky. Once he delivered in Kentucky, it was his decision to make sure that he wanted to run long and get it up for the weekend to Massachusetts, which delivered on Monday of the following week. So he's about $150 short of his revenue target, but he also had Sunday and Monday off. So he ran at 71% while hitting 130% of his target. $3.42 a mile, 2,100 miles. Darnell Davis, another gentleman that drives for us. He is also managed by our office. He's out of Lamont, Illinois. He goes home every weekend. He makes good money. He drops when he's supposed to. He does a fantastic job as well. He dropped in Greensboro, North Carolina, which actually ended up being on Wednesday. So it took an extra day. It loaded on Monday for Wednesday. So his occupancy was down a little bit for that. And then I'm not sure why I have that in there, that direction. He made another drop that was not Greensboro, and then back up to Ohio. And then he went back home. But he did land $7,250 with a target of $7,500 and really running a strong 3.5 day week. And Nathan Singer's the last gentleman. He runs a dry van. He did a bit of a different tour. So our customer had some freight that delivered on Monday in Bangor, Maine. He took a load for $3,600 on 1,131 miles. Came back down to Strasburg, Virginia. That's one of the runs that we've seen in the past that we regularly get out of there. Then he ran down to Gadsden, Alabama. A total week for him, he did $8,300 in a dry van. Again, over $3, 2,700 miles. From Alabama, he went to Missouri. So you guys know where that's going to be. It means next week, his week's going to kick off really well. This is the occupied versus unoccupied time. I just color coded it so those that are watching can see it on what the difference is. And you look at the earning potential versus when guys are out. And when guys have a lot of green out there, it usually means they have a lot of green in their pocket, especially in a market like this. So kudos to the guys that we measured. They did a fantastic job. Not only did they deliver safely, but they put money in their pocket and they stayed out to earn it. But we talked about the one Massachusetts run we had. And when we left there, you all were talking about how you went to Vegas for $8,000. And we'll talk and show what we did. But I think it's important to understand that when we're booking freight, whether it's for ourselves or have someone do it, there's several things that we want to consider. The first thing is time. How much time is that load going to be on the truck, right? Because then we're passing up opportunities for other pieces of freight. How many miles will it take to deliver the freight? And then how much money is it going to have? What's the total money? What is the total gross that's considered? What is the cent per mile that we need to consider? And then the revenue per day. And what we're going to look at here are kind of two different examples of how we can add one day to the trip and maybe add a lot more money. Because miles don't always equate to money. And Russ, I know we run our fleets differently, but I think that you're going to see that you would do something similar to what we're looking at, that if you do run long, you really got to make sure you make somebody pay for it right now, because you're losing the opportunity to make a lot of money per day. So Russ, maybe tell me what's that?
So I agree with that. And before we got one more guy to go over with his occupancy, just real quick, I want to go over. So this guy is Ray Nieto. What we call him is whenever dispatched. His occupancy was 21%. He hit a record for the last 12 months of occupying the truck 21% of the time, the most in 12 months for him.
Jeez.
That's a
running
day and a half.
Running strong, 1.5 day a day week, very strong for Ray. And his revenue wasn't great, but he definitely saved on fuel.
He did, and he was eating cactus the entire time. So it works. It
I
works.
love messing with Ray. Ray, that was for you. And by the way, and we'll get onto this. Happy birthday, Ray. He's got a birthday coming up next week.
Oh, happy
yeah.
birthday to Tim as well. Tim Howard.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
his birthday
Happy
today.
birthday, Tim. All right. Anyway, I had to go over Ray's made up occupancy.
And happy birthday to our customer Dave Ford. It's his birthday today as well. So
Cool.
now we got a hat trick.
Yeah. There you go.
Ian's birthday was on the 4th, just so everybody knows.
Happy birthday, Ian. Wow.
Thank you.
It's a birthday show.
Yeah.
Mine's July
Hey, if you got a birthday this month, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you need it because
Everybody's
it's wrapped up
birthday
right
this
around
year.
Christmas, and nobody really appreciates your birthday
Yep.
anyway.
They always
Right.
forget.
I missed
They're over
Jesse.
it.
Jesse Jones on our fleet. I missed his birthday, and he let me know that I missed saying something on the show. So happy birthday, Jesse and Christy. She had one right around the same time. Anyway, go ahead.
Anybody else?
Well, now that I think about it.
Mine's on the 25th.
There we go.
Kevin, I don't
Happy
remember anybody asking, but that's all right.
Mine's about 5 months from now.
All right, we'll write it down.
Yeah. That's 105 candles on one cake. That thing's going to be lit.
That's a lot.
Fire hazard.
So anyway, so Russ, I'm asking kind of what would you do in this situation, Mike, anybody on the show? So the market showing from Massachusetts to Kentucky, to Texas, excuse me, is showing a range between $4,000 and $5,600. Understanding that when he picks up, it's going to be a Monday delivery, right? From a Thursday to Wednesday to Monday.
Okay,
or
let's
Thursday
back
to
this up
Monday.
again. So he's delivering in Texas.
Yeah. So the hypothetical is assume you're in Avon, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And you're taking a 2,000 mile run or a 2,500 mile run from basically a Wednesday to Monday, right? Wednesday
Okay.
to Monday.
So 5 days.
Yep, 5 days on the truck, even though it's only 2,000 miles, and he wasn't working short on hours or anything else. So it's
Yes.
not like he had to worry about the cap. So
You
he
can
could
do
have
it
extended more mileage if he chose
Tip-
to.
Typical guy can do that in 3 days in a few hours, 3 shifts in
Correct.
a few hours. I mean,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, or
So-
comfortably breaking during the day and taking 12-hour breaks and do it in 4, right?
Yeah. So he picks up Wednesday morning. Hopefully he doesn't get detained. He can get down the road and get some of it knocked off. Eat Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's going to show up sometime Saturday.
Correct. And
Okay.
this came off, I believe on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, was when it dropped.
Okay, go ahead.
So the range is between $5,600 and $4,000. Where would you all put a rate carrying it on the truck for that long period of time?
Well, it's
coming-
coming out of Mass. So, I mean, I know I saw it was pretty decent this week. 5 days. I mean, typically we love to get more, but I don't like to see $1,000 or less on a truck a day.
Right.
So I think you definitely need to be at 5 or above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to be at that upper, the
Yeah.
upper part of the.
I'd like to
near
see
closer to that
1200,
50,
yeah, 58.
55, 56,
Mhm.
or somewhere between 55 and 6. But that being said, I'm saying that now, knowing that the
You got the
Northeast
money.
market is heating up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing to
if-
realize too, depending on how his hours were when he picked up, he can get down there sometime Saturday afternoon and fit in a reset.
And do a 34. Yeah.
So there's a value there going into his next week with a full clock.
Yep.
So, I'm not saying I wouldn't take the load for $5,000,
Yeah.
Right.
but I would try and get as much as I could. But $5,000 on 2,000 miles and fit in a reset, there's a
Yeah.
little more value there.
And also being a 30 loads per truck ratio, which is,
So
a
you're
pretty
going to hit
short
them.
ratio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be looking at 6.
Okay. And so, and he took a longer run. What our office probably would have done a little differently from a dispatch percentive.
I can
is-
tell you what I would have done. That I would have bounced into the Midwest and then
Oh.
got a Friday load out of there.
That's
Probably.
interesting. So that's what we have here. We have Taunton, Mass going over towards Newport, Michigan, right? $3,800 on the run. I just pulled this up today, posted rates. So no negotiating involved, right? Good credit on both of them.
It was
Everybody
Friday
know.
delivery, right?
What's that? Exactly. Friday delivery. And then you
Well-
have a reload from Friday to Monday.
What did that
yeah.
pay? The reload?
The reload from Michigan to San Antonio,
Yeah.
$4,200.
Okay. So now you're at 78. Now I thought you said from Mass to
Texas.
Texas. What would I do? What would I
Right.
take the load for?
Yep.
And
it was
Wednesday,
because we're going to need both of those answers here.
Okay. Well, on a Wednesday, and we're big on this, so we probably did it the same way you're talking about. Because on a Wednesday, just like Doty said, I wouldn't want to go Wednesday to Monday on a 2,000-mile run that he's going to show up Saturday. We would definitely be bouncing. We might even bounce him one-day runs and get as much money as we can till Friday, deliver. Yeah, get over here by our terminal or somewhere in the Midwest, and then go long. If you can carry 3 days over the weekend and deliver. So yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Thought he had to be in Texas.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. But, and I was asking, and more so for the rate, because, where we put the rate was the exact same thing. You start over 6,000 and you try to get back to 6, right? Or you get back to 55. And he did short himself a little bit, but his thought is that he'll make it up in Texas. And he is booking a little bit in advance when he did it. So, and I think that hurts you in a market like now where you can really, if you can hold in that same morning and know that you've got an hour to play with on the, on the apps to get moving, it does pay right now. So, but, looking between the two comparisons from the hypothetical that we had, which, you all were spot on without knowing what we're talking about, which is going to the Midwest or somewhere, there and abouts the eastern west side of it. And then Detroit right down to San Antonio in the same place. You're looking at 5 days on the truck versus 4. From a transit standpoint, he still has 5 days on the truck, but from a mileage per day standpoint, which is 2,000 versus 2,237. So you're looking at $8,000 because you got 38 and 42 compared to 4,000. Cent per mile comparison. I mean, it's 1.5 times the cent per mile that you're going to have running. Are you going to have a little bit of additional mileage and fuel? Absolutely. But you look at the revenue per day, you're running $1,600 worth of revenue per day. Which is what $1,850 on a 4-day versus $1,000 a day.
1,000. And that's how I think your staff did it. You said that's how they did it or would do it.
Yeah,
that's how we would do it too. We love to run on our fleet. We love to run, a day or 2-day run, and then but landing on a Friday in an area where you can carry something long over the weekend.
Right. Yeah. Evaluate their hours and go from there.
Maximizes. It's efficient running. It maximizes your 70.
Yep.
And it maximizes the revenue that you can put on your truck for sure.
So just food for thought, because I know a lot of guys that are doing themselves. Like they see that they get $2 a mile, and it's like that's not the market anymore, right? It's $3 to $4.50 a mile, or better, and then they say, hey, it's a lot of miles. I don't have to do a bunch of drops. Well, you're exchanging, dropping, and picking up at a shipper every day for $800 is what you're doing. $800 a day, every single day. So, and the only last thing I had was just these are my uncles. These are the guys that got me into transportation. The one there in the middle is JB. They call him JB. That was his nickname, Jelly Belly.
JB Hunt.
Well, we had a shirt that said JB Hunt, and we took out the H's behind the H, made JB Hart because that was his last name. And then there's Bob on the right. They started B&S Transportation back in, I think, the late 80s. And my Uncle Steve, who worked as a dispatch over there. They've all since passed, but JB passed away. And I want to give a little shout out to the guys that got me back in the industry I ran away from.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So I like that example, and that's really good food for thought for, not only drivers that book themselves on both our fleets, the Deaton or Dawson fleet.
Yep.
But you got to think about that, what day. It's not just the rate, and it's about what day of the week it is. I know we've had many of those conversations in here with a guy, but this load pays this, but it's Tuesday, or like your example, but it's Wednesday, and it's not enough miles. You're not going to get there till Friday night. Then you're going to be sitting, unless you got to look at hours. Now, in that example, like I said, Christian, if the guy needs a reset at the end of that load, that's a good load to get down there on if you get the right money. Because he can fit one in and deliver Monday, start the next week with a fresh 70.
Exactly.
So that's cool.
And that's what it's consistent coaching.
Yeah. And that's what I started looking at when I was running guys, because for a while, or for the longest time, I would really ran shorter runs, especially during the week, for the higher rate per mile. But once it started to flip, where shipping and receiving time started getting longer, all these wait times started getting longer, I started trying to do more revenue, during the week, longer runs. And I really started to notice it when I did Lee, sending them to Colorado, LA to Colorado, or LA to Denver, and just deadheading them back. He's doing 12 grand a week, and, but his rate per mile was probably was lower than it was in the past, but his revenue was so much higher that
Yeah.
it there's a balance, I guess, between rate
There
per
is.
mile and
Absolutely.
revenue.
Yeah. And it's the net margin. And I have a calculator. Maybe I'll bring it on next time that talks about the mileage versus the revenue for the pocket. But you're right. When you start looking at waiting times and the fact that you could lose a day somewhere, or even six hours in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just send them. Just let's go.
Yeah, and a perfect example again with Lee is we got him a load back, and I was deadheading him back from Denver, and his hours were short, or it was over the weekend. It wasn't going to cost him anything to get a load back if it took a little time. He needed it anyway.
Yeah.
But it ended up being like a $1,200 load, and he ended up getting detained for like 5 or 6 hours, most of the day at the receiver. So we talked after that, and I said, Lee, man, I said, can you imagine if you needed the hours or had to get to your next pickup? Luckily it wasn't like that on this one, but I said it would have screwed up everything.
Yeah.
And what would you guys say about the fuel surcharge as far as the shorter runs versus the longer runs? I mean, right now, what the surcharge is paying, wouldn't it be better to be running a little further?
I think it's 46 cents. Well, it depends. I mean,
well, you're getting paid, so you're getting a fuel surcharge on all your loaded miles, no matter what. So that's going to be regardless of a short load or long load.
But what he's saying, our drivers, Deaton and Dawson drivers, we're getting 100% of the fuel surcharge before when everything's broke down. So if you're running 200 miles a day, which we do run a few guys real short and for the most revenue, but we're talking about 200-300 miles. We're trying to get close to 2,000 for it, or, give or take the area you're in. So you'll on those short, you're not spending nowhere near the fuel that you were running 650 miles a day, Ray. So you're going to spend way less in fuel. You're not going to get a lot of fuel surcharge on your loaded miles, but you're making way more on the revenue of a 200 mile or 300 mile load. So I think if you really broke it down, I don't think that's going to.
The average is about the same then.
It probably, or you might even be better off on those short runs running for, like Mark was running those 300 miles to Phoenix for 2,000 to 2,400 from SoCal. I think he'd probably take take more money in his pocket than he would if he was running 600 miles for 46 cents of fuel surcharge. I mean, I haven't done the math on that, but it just kind of makes sense to me that.
Well, you got to figure in the time on the truck, the time it takes versus the rate per mile. Cause if you get $2,000 on 200 miles, that's great. But if it doesn't deliver if it's 3 days on the truck,
right, or an evening delivery where you're shorting yourself.
Yeah, I don't think we've had none of those unless someone broke down. But
but that's what I was starting to see when I was running all these guys short. I was running into so many problems with because I was loading and reloading a guy every day of the week. There was one driver might have 5 loads in a week, and I was running into so many problems that way where they're getting held up, and it's a fight just to make their target revenue or and they were bringing decent money home because their fuel was low. I was getting them a great rate per mile, but it started to get to the point where
you're right. AC
getting held
runs
up
like
at the
that.
shipper and receiver was just getting worse and worse.
I can tell you, AC runs like that a lot, right, Ian? That's Ian dispatches him. AC lives here in town. This was probably a month ago. I know AC listens, so he'll remember this. I think Ian might have taken a couple of vacation days or something. I was booking him that week, and AC, we had a good setup, and he would have got back here Friday night and been home for the weekend. And he was in Detroit, I think it was, or somewhere around Detroit. And he got detained on a short load. It paid well, but on a short load, and he was on time. He was detained, supposed to deliver in the morning at like 8. And he was there. This was on when we had our Christmas party. Matter of fact, I had a load getting him home that night. He was there till like 4 o'clock in the, 8-9 hours he was detained. He was so upset because him and his wife were coming to our Christmas party and he wasn't going to make it back in time. And then luckily he got out of there like at 5 o'clock or something, but he had, 180 miles to run just to get to our yard to drop off his truck. And then he lives 30-40 minutes from there. He had to go home. I told him, I said, AC, just have Trish drive up to the yard, bring everything you need, and then just meet us at the, where we were meeting for our Christmas party. And that's what essentially he had to do. And he made it. But we had a load getting him back. He had a deadhead back. So we left because he was detained. We ended up leaving. I think I had him 1,500 on 180 miles or something like that coming back. And he had to leave that on the table. Not our fault, not his fault. It was because of detention. So that is one of the things that you risk when you run short daily.
And famous
it's not just that. You're at 15, on a $1,500 load. If you're detained 5-6 hours, you're like, man, that really sucks. Whereas if you're on a longer run, $5,000 load and you're detained, you're like, okay, it doesn't seem to sting as bad.
Hurt as
yeah,
bad, right.
Exactly. And you're not rushing to get out to hit another one. And I think that if you ever hear the words from a broker that says, you're working, but don't worry, I know this customer, they're going to get you taken care of. Don't take the piece of freight. I don't, it's just not worth rolling the dice.
Yeah,
that,
for
that,
sure.
that raises eyebrows every time I hear that. And then then whenever you are detained, you could be detained 10 hours and you get $125 in detention pay.
Right. And then a reschedule on the delivery. Yep.
And that's why I'll laugh at, when I post trucks sometimes, though, I've gotten calls for short loads, 50, 60, 80 mile loads for $500 or something. And I'll just tell them, I'll say, look, can I do 2 or 3 in a day? I said, if not, I'm at, $1,200 for one load, Otherwise it's not
then
worth
they get mad at you for demanding such a high price.
I try to explain it to them. I haven't really, and believe it or not, I haven't really had too many get mad, but I just say, look, if I could do 2 or 3 in a day, I'll run them for 500. If you can guarantee me that I'm going to get unloaded and be able to do 2 or 3 a day. Otherwise, for one load, it's time on the truck versus miles. It's not even, miles don't even factor in.
I will say I got there's a new driver coming on with us. I actually had a pretty lengthy conversation with him today. His name's Thaddeus. So Thaddeus is, I sent him the link, or no, he knows about the show. And I know he'll probably hear this on this week's show, but we went over this exact thing we're talking about. It's kind of funny. And then I transferred him to Brittany to get all his stuff in. He's going to be coming on with us in a few weeks, but this is the same stuff that we talked about today. We were talking about California, Mike, and you running the guys that I think it was Lee to Denver and deadhead and back. And then what we did last week with Seattle. And this just kind of what you brought up too. It's funny that, and I looked down at my phone this afternoon and I think we'd been on the phone in like an hour and a half. Matter of fact, that's when I missed your call, Mike. I was on the phone with him. We just dove deep into Talkin Truckin and how we, kind of how we think through the week and through the rates and stuff. So this is a good conversation. Mike, what were you going to go over? You were talking.
We're kind of in it right now. I mean, we could just kind of, I was going to touch on, some things drivers can do to start in the new year to try and be more profitable, and I was answering some of the drivers' questions here. It's hard for me to do this because I don't want to seem like a jerk, but
it's a little late for that.
Yeah,
right?
Go ahead.
What I'm getting at is I think
don't tiptoe around
drivers,
anybody.
So
Let's roll.
For me, I didn't know when I was driving, I didn't know this side of it, right? I didn't have any perspective from the other side and not knowing what it takes over here to make things go.
Same with me, Mike. I learned it first from the steering wheel of a truck.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny I get drivers that complain about maybe they're on positive pay. They're not getting paid. It's a day late or it's this or it's that. And I just want to kind of put it in perspective because everyone has as a driver, you have a certain perspective, a carrier has another perspective, shippers got a perspective, receivers got a perspective, right? It's all.
Before you go into that, so positive pay, just in case anyone that's listening doesn't know what it is. So, because we're not late on pay, I will tell you that our Meadowlark is very sharp with the payroll. What happens is, so drivers have a choice. They can be on weekly pay or positive pay. Positive pay is basically after you deliver a load, it takes about a day. There's no, it depends on how busy the billing department is. As they process your load the next day, if you scan it in tomorrow, it'll most likely process, and then you'll get a settlement the following morning.
And some of that, just to interrupt you real quick, Russ,
Mhm.
some of that is due to the ACH in your bank. So some credit
know.
unions and federal banks will go right away on an ACH transfer, and some of it takes longer. So it does depend on your bank as well.
It does. And a perfect example of that is Mike, one of your guys, Robbie. And Robbie's been with us for years. And Robbie texted me, I think it was Friday or Saturday night. He said, Hey man, do you know what's going on? My pay didn't hit my bank. Well, Robbie's on positive pay, so he probably got a couple of paychecks during the week, the way he was running, and this might have been his second or third. And I do our payroll with the payroll department. I go over everybody's pay. Everyone knows that. And I said, well, Robbie, we ran your pay. It was Friday. We ran your pay Friday afternoon before 4. As long as it goes out before 4:00 Mountain Time, it will hit your bank the next day. That's how it works. And it went before 4. I explained that to him. So I said, it's got to be on your bank's end. He goes, I know, but I've had them hit my bank on Saturdays before. And I said, honestly, I can't tell you. I don't know who your bank is. And I don't, I have no control of that. Once it's sent before 4:00 Mountain Time, it goes right to them. So however they process it, that's on your bank side, just like Christian said. Yeah. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So it's just, I'm trying to give a different perspective, right? Because I didn't know anything about this side of the business. When I was in the truck, and Russ, you've said it before on here, I called you talking about percentages, hey, Russ, I can go get 85% over here or whatever the case is, but it's all relative, right? If you're getting 85% over here, their cargo insurance might be more, or this insurance might be more, or deductions might be higher. It's
typically they're passing, a lot of those companies are passing all of the cargo liability insurance.
Or not all of the revenue, by the way.
And probably both. Yeah. You probably won't see a rate con.
Right. And if you really broke it down to numbers, it probably all the carriers out there, because you just can't survive if it's less than 20 to 25%. You just can't, carrier can't do business that way. And any carrier, you'll get a lot of 90%, what are you doing for that 10%? You read a lot online on some of these forums and stuff, what does a carrier do for that 10%? Well, I ran some of the numbers that Meadowlark has to do. And again, these are all just guessing, but based on 400 drivers out there, they're putting out about 400,000 a week in fuel. And Christian, you're good with numbers. Russ, if I'm off on these, if you think it's a different number, and I just kind of ran them quick. So 400,000 a week in fuel, about $1 million a week in payroll, 200,000 a week in equipment, and about 50,000 a week in insurance. So about 1.5 million a week it costs Meadowlark to run our guys, and that's not including the office.
The compliance division, safety can't. Yeah.
Right.
Did you include their payroll for their office staff or no?
No.
Okay.
Just the drivers, the driver side of it, about 1.5 million a week
and
to
then
run it.
On top of that, I think you got to be close, Mike. I think your numbers are close enough. I will say this. So now you got to consider like us and Christian. So not only does Meadowlark have to pay, how many employees do they have out there? Roughly close to 80, 90, 100, something like that.
Yeah.
At the home office. And then we have about 12 or so here. Christian, you got probably somewhere close to that.
Yeah, 7.
So, and on top of our payroll, Christian, you know how this works. You got taxes coming out on our
workman's
employees,
compensation, right?
All that. And then
benefits,
there's taxes as an employer that I have to pay on top of the taxes that come out of our office staff's payroll. So our payroll and your payroll and Meadowlark's payroll, it's up there. So add that to the 1.5 million.
Right. And I was keeping, like I said, I was keeping it low and simple. And Kevin, you own trucks, what it costs to keep them running, the 10 or 15 trucks you had.
Another thing to add to that, Mike, Meadowlark has been really great with our fleet and with Dawson's fleet. When to back a driver, and I know we back them too. We do have a reserve that we help with that, but Meadowlark has been fantastic with being behind us and our drivers. And so that's another addition. If a guy breaks down, he's got a $2,000 bill at the shop and he can't pay it all, Meadowlark has always stepped up to the plate and helped us, and we help, and the driver, is back on the road. So
go ahead, Kevin.
Meadowlark, they back us 100% out here. But on top of that, a lot of these drivers don't understand what everybody goes through. I mean, Russ, Tina, Christian, you, Mike, all of y'all, nobody has any idea what y'all go through on a daily basis when it comes to making sure we get paid, making sure Meadowlark gets paid for the loads, because everybody's out here to try to sneak one over on somebody.
They are,
it's nobody realizes that. I mean, if they've ever done it, they realize it. And all these companies that say, oh yeah, we'll pay you 90% or 85%, they leave that up to you to fight with them brokers to get your money.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
just like a factoring company.
They're not only that, they're not showing you everything either. So 85% of what? And you're going to pick up the cargo liability, which could be $400 or $500 a week. And it's just,
And that's where I was going with this was, so all of our guys, unless you're a company driver for one of us or a company driver directly for Meadowlark, you're a small business owner. Every driver here is a small business owner, right? So and there's business expenses, but what you got to realize is Meadowlark is basically covering those business expenses for you, is fronting those business expenses so you can run and so you can make money. And like I said, it's about just roughly is about 1.5 million a week. So it costs them about $10 million, because the average day to pay for a broker is probably about 45 days. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, between mailing time. Yeah. Bank deposit to bank deposit. Yeah.
So from
depending on the broker.
Yeah. Right. So from the time you deliver a load, Meadowlark doesn't get paid for 45 days. So a rough estimate is they got about $10 million out before they see $1 in return.
And whether they're using a bank, I know some of the details, but whether they use or anybody uses a bank to help you with some of that, regardless, you're on the hook for it.
So and if you're an individual business owner and owner operator, and you think it's hard to understand what your household bills look like, let's look at the forecasting of what needs to happen for us to operate under that authority. Yeah. And I think that's a true cost to it, right? So we all talk about the elevated cost of trucks and trailers, how they're going up. That also means that the physical damage insurance percentage, which the drivers pay, go up. But what's that mean when claims happen? Right? That means they're larger claims. So renewals are naturally insurance. So if we had 0 claims this year, a majority of the insurance renewals are going up. And so you say, okay, well, if that's the piece that cargo and liability that Meadowlark's taken a portion of, when that claim base grows, or when it doesn't, but the exceeded cost values of vehicles go up, their margins get slimmer and slimmer. You have a 5 to 8 year expectancy on a trailer if you're doing a rental program. So now you're talking about fleet replacement every 5 to 7 years. Mm-hmm. And so, those are not fun numbers to forecast, but they are real numbers. Yeah. And if you have trailers that are sitting in a pool that we're not using, then they're just expenses on the bottom line that can erode that margin too. So I know there are a lot of smart people in Billings, Montana, which have answers for those questions, but it is something, like you said, Mike, to consider, that there's a whole lot more at play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And just to be, I think one of the keys to being successful, whether you just own one truck and drive it, or you own 10 or 50, is just understanding all aspects of the business.
Yeah.
And just trying to help them understand, because I get, there's some guys that call me and I just try to make them understand that there's, the things that go on this side of it that keep you running, when that positive pay doesn't go in, Wednesday, but Thursday, but you already got a check Monday and a check Tuesday. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And honestly, on that, I love talking to drivers about this, because I know, the billing department, I know Tina on our fleet is very conscientious of cleaning up anything that needs cleaned up, getting a revised rate con so that everything flows quickly through the billing department so it can be processed, and so you can get that next positive pay settlement quickly.
Tina does an amazing
job at it.
Yeah.
But that, still at the end of the day, if there are 400 trucks coming scanning paperwork in, and there's a few girls, there's a few ladies in that department up there in Montana. I mean, some days, and Ashley has told me before, some days, we can get through everything real quick, get it billed out, get it processed, and get the positive pay guys paid. But some days they're bombed with loads. And so it may take a little longer throughout the day. It may take till the next morning. They're only human. I mean, and it just depends on the volume of stuff that comes in up there. But we watch it, and we try and keep our stuff on our fleet. And I'm sure you do the same kind of thing, Christian, with your we're trying to make sure as soon as a load's delivered, we're getting in and out times and a bill sent to whoever. And Tina's always on that with us to, hey guys, let's get this in so our driver gets paid. And Kevin, you first to you, Nate, Jim Mackey, Ray, you guys all know, as soon as you deliver, Tina's on it. She's trying to make sure it's clean and everything. And and honestly, if there's a page that something didn't scan in and it's blurry, that'll hold your stuff up. So drivers look at your scans before you send it in, because Tina does catch those. She'll catch them and immediately start letting, or the biller will, one of the two, usually it's Tina, and they'll let you know, hey, I need another copy of this. We're not going anywhere until we get that. So that's, watch your scans too. But
and there's been numerous times that Meadowlarks called me, 20 minutes after I turned paperwork in and said, hey, this page needs to be resent.
It's because you spill nacho cheese all over it.
So,
may I say something as well?
Yeah, go ahead. And then I think Nate had something to say too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, okay.
Well, I was just going to say that.
Ray, it's your birthday week, so you go ahead first. It's
the
whole week.
Don't remind me, man. Don't remind me. Yeah. So, I mean, as you know, Russ, I've basically given counsel to a whole lot of drivers that have been on our fleet. I know most of them, and I haven't counseled everybody, but a lot of them I have. And one of the biggest things that I run across, like Doty is talking about, is a lot of times the drivers come in, and when they come in with the attitude is, well, after Meadowlark takes their cut, after Deaton takes their cut, after everybody takes their cut, this is what I'm left with. But I think that one of the biggest things that I try to teach them is stop focusing on what somebody else is making. You're in it for you. They're helping you. But at the same time, you need to stop focusing on what Meadowlark or what everybody else is making. Because if I'm worried about what everybody else is making, then how can I create wealth for myself?
That is so right, Ray.
Yeah, and honestly, I was talking to Thaddeus, a recruit that's talking about coming on our fleet. I said today, he asked me about he's a smart guy. He had a business that unfortunately at the beginning of the pandemic, it took his clients away. So he went into trucking. And we were talking about numbers, and, we went over all the fixed costs, what the fuel would be, stuff like that. He gets it. He's been driving. But I told him, and I really believe this, look, there's a range I can give you right now. Typically on our fleet, probably the same with Dawson, probably at most Meadowlark fleets, you're going to make between 2,000 and 6,000 a week. You could be a little under that. You could be a little over that. It depends on how you run and who you are. That's the only thing that's going to change that is you. And at that point, if you got a way you run and how you work with us, and you're in that I know that's a big window, but it depends on how often you go home. There's so many factors, just like Christian,
where you run.
Yeah. The pie,
what you're pulling.
The pizza that you had, would you start taking pieces off, a while ago, Christian? So when you do that, that's good. You're going to be in that range. If you want to be that guy, like Bill doesn't mind me saying it. Bill's a great guy. Bill Parsley, Tom dispatches him on our fleet. Bill's in that $4,000 to $6,000 range every week. I mean, that's probably, and he has a fantastic year or last year. But Bill stays out. Bill doesn't go home very often, months, and he doesn't reset on the road very often at all. He's running his recap. He's balancing his hours, and he goes wherever Tom tells him the money's at, and Tom just books him and puts it on him. He doesn't worry about, he doesn't want to book himself. He doesn't want to figure out the market. He lets Tom do that. So everybody's different, but typically you are going to be, if you're home more, you're going to be in that $2,000 side. And if you're like Bill, you're going to be closer to that $4,000 to $6,000 side.
And piggybacking on what you're talking about as far as percentages and success and failure and the pizza and everything else, that if you're a gambling person, transportation is not the business for you to start on your own. A lot of guys, well, I'll just go get my own authority. Would anybody want to guess what percentage ballpark in the first year of trucking companies fail?
Oh man,
90%.
Yeah, it's 80%.
I was going to say 85%.
Okay, I guess you guys all read the same article I read. Yeah, it's 90%. And that's growing. They grew before the pandemic. In 2018, it was 900. 2019, it was 1,100. 2020, it was like 1,200. 3,100 companies that shut down. And it's not getting easier. A lot of it's unpaid invoices in pandemic times, but a 90% failure rate for any business. I mean, go start a restaurant, go throw a bunch of money at something, go try to find your customers. And then when your expenses go up and then you can't raise the price on the menu, you're out of business. And I think that's something to be said for Meadowlark, as well as, you've got someone that's been around, 38 years? I'm butchering this somewhere, 39 now, right? So they're seasoned. They, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You sit there and participate and you get rewarded for it.
And to break it down kind of per truck is, as I figured it out to be, for that 45 days that they're waiting on to get paid from each load, is about 35,000 per truck. It's costing, again, rough figures.
I wouldn't want to be that dispatcher.
So if you're at 35,000, if you have your own authority, you better have about 40 grand in the bank to last you and cover expenses for at least 2 months. And not only that, all the compliance and DOT and if everything that goes along with the back end of it, even stuff that from this seat I don't even know about because I don't handle that.
Like an $800 Samsara unit, right? Or $1,000 Metrodyne camera.
I'm gonna ask.
Exactly.
Nikki Bissett, when Nikki watches the show this week, if she can, go over these numbers that you threw out and let us know, Mike, so that we can bring it up again next week. I bet you're really close on this.
I know just on the insurance alone, on one truck, if you have one truck and you're paying insurance, I pay half what I would if I was out on my own right now putting insurance on this truck.
Oh, yeah.
That's not including anything else.
Yeah.
I pay half of what I could.
You're talking about for your bobtail insurance?
Yeah, just for just for the insurance coverage if I get in an accident.
That's
not including. I mean that's not including your anything else.
Well, your cargo liability, Meadowlark's covering. You're not getting charged. They're covering 98% of it. Yep. And any of those other companies that I've seen guys come from out in the Midwest, usually they're getting dispatched overseas or something. Those companies pass that whole cargo liability to you, and it's probably, I've seen it on their pay stubs, and it's probably $400 to $500 a week. That's an expense you're not seeing here.
I mean, people don't realize what it costs just to insure one of these trucks as far as just to go drive it down the road. That's not including hauling anything or anything else.
Well, it's even more as a new carrier, Kevin. As a new carrier, I've seen guys online in these forums saying, is this right? I just got a quote for $35,000 for my first year for one truck. It's crazy.
Nate, what were you going to say?
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I was it kind of passed it by, but I was just gonna say when it came to scanning in paperwork and stuff like that, I had ran into the load broker being so picky that I ended up actually having to send off mail in my bills for that load because I scanned it in and, ladies in the office were like, oh no, it looks fine on our end. I don't know what's going on. Like they just don't care. They just, so I mean, it could just be the fact that the load brokers.
Yeah. And on that note, we send you your Raycons and Tina highlights things. I know you guys have seen that, Nate. Tina reads every line on our Raycon. So when we book a load, Tina reads every line, every load. And she highlights things, and she always brings it to our dispatcher's attention. And she and the driver, sometimes they don't read the notes she sends or highlights, but there are some customers and brokers out there that want the original copies, and she catches that every time, and she knows what it means. It means that you're going to have to stop and FedEx your paperwork in, whether it's to us or to that company, before they accept it. They're not going to accept scanned copies or computer copies or whatever copies. So that is on their Raycons. You just got to pay attention. And there's times that a load will be booked.
But that same broker that he's talking about, I hauled two loads for him and scanned my paperwork in and never had no issue. So I don't know why they had an issue with Nate.
Well, and Nate brings up a good point, though, and this kind of piggybacks on you, Mike, is that there's been so many changes in this industry. 5 years ago, I'd say 80% of people still want original 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It is a luxury that technology and scanning technology has come so far, because that was an everyday occurrence, and you didn't know about it until they received the originals and said, we got a problem. Then you got to go back and see if you can get a copy of the originals from somewhere at the shipper receiver. And so it wasn't always an overage, shortage, or damage, or something that caused a holdup on the billing side. But we take for granted the fact that we are clearing these hurdles and moving forward at the exact same time
through technology. Yeah,
yep,
it's great.
Right, and then Meadowlark went ahead and paid that, even though paid me for the load, even though that they didn't get the funds released from the broker.
Right. And you had to get the originals and get it. And Kevin, on your point, it might be the same broker that you ran 2 loads with, and you didn't have to have originals, but it might have been a different customer for that broker that Nate ran, and that customer might have required it for that broker to get the money. So
well, that's true.
That could have been the case too.
I don't know. I was told years ago, you can buy 1 truck and drive that truck yourself and make money. You can buy 3 trucks and go broke.
That's about the truth.
I mean, it is, but working here, I'll have the opportunity to slowly grow, and I don't feel like I have. I'm not going to have that full responsibility on my shoulders. Am I going to be able to make it, or am I not?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cushion, right? It's nice to have that cushion. It is. It's a
Kevin and Nate are actually both gonna pay off their trucks soon. I'll have to look at the dates, Nate and Kevin, but I know it's coming up this year, and they're both gonna have paid off trucks. And I've talked to both of them. Matter of fact, I ordered 6 brand new trucks from Truckworks. Truckworks said that they're allocated to us. I probably won't get all 6. I might get 4 or 5. We don't know, because you can't get trucks. It's really hard. We're purchasing them. And Kevin and I have already talked. Kevin's going to go into one of those new trucks, more than likely. Right, Kev? And
yeah, I'm going to.
And then he's going to put a company driver in the truck he paid off. And he's going to use, and he's going to build up his account so he can take care of that truck that's paid off. It's a good truck. He's taking good care of it, but it wasn't overnight that happened. Kevin's still going to be driving and slowly building. Ray did that. Ray bought a truck. It's not easy. Ray's getting ready to dump. Ray, I don't know how much, 10 grand into that truck that Michael's driving coming up soon.
Anywhere from 10 to about 15,000.
Yeah, he's getting ready to do a bunch of work on the truck.
What's wrong with it?
That he bought. We can tell you tomorrow, Joel. Joel's
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, it's nothing. Joel, you're okay. You got a rear seal leak. That's not that bad.
That's like $10.
Yeah, compared to what he's spending. But at the end of the day, man, it happens. That's but Doty don't even want to talk about it. He had to put a new motor. It cost him $50,000 into one of his trucks.
I don't know why he's smiling right now. I would not,
because it's over. He paid for it. He's moving on. But and honestly, Doty and I talked
run
about
that truck for like 3 years. What really hurt on that one was I just sent in the payoff for like 40 grand.
He just paid it off
like the month before.
Just paid the truck off.
Wow.
But with that new motor and all that paperwork, he could turn around and get twice that for it.
Well, you're right, Kevin. And what I told Doty Doty knew.
Now,
okay, so you spend the 50 grand, you got a new motor. You'll probably make. He's got a company driver in that truck. That's his buddy Tom. Tom is a good driver. He'll make Tom some money, and Doty will make some money. I think they split it, the profit on the truck. A year, maybe a year and a half or so, Mike's going to have all that money back and made some money. And he's got a brand new motor that from then on,
It's under warranty.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
under
most
warranty.
expensive
0
parts already
miles.
been replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then
he's gonna
before
be
that,
okay.
and I'll tell you what, the reason I did it on that truck was because before that, in the year before that, the warranty, I had that extended warranty on it, and it has a new VGT, new EGR, a new turbo. I mean, almost everything
made
on
sense.
that
It's a
truck.
new truck.
All the bolt-ons were new. Let me put it that way. So,
And it's a
in the
nice
past
truck.
year.
I will say it's a T680.
Well, it's the same one Kevin has.
Yeah,
Kevin
it's the
knows.
same truck
Yeah,
you got,
identical
Kevin.
to mine.
Same
Yeah.
year.
Same
It's a
paint
really-
job, everything.
Everything,
Really,
yeah.
same color too. Yeah.
What kind of boat do you think you could have bought for that money?
Yeah.
They're expensive too right now.
But you know what?
They're skyrocketing in
That
price
boat's not
too.
going to give you a return on your investment.
In a year or so,
No.
Mike can go get that boat because he'll have that money back.
Yeah.
And he'll have a truck that could be on the road for another 6-7 years or 5-6 years. So that's why it was worth it. And it was, it was hard to do, but he saw the value in doing that. And I totally was with him. But anyway, man, this has been a great conversation. I know, Joel, we didn't get on to sports.
I'll talk.
I don't know where we are on time, but let's get to trucking
Hogs.
questions. Can we do trucking questions with Kumar to take us out?
We'll send it out.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
we'll skip the wild card and go straight to the division.
Yeah, we can talk about football next week. Let's
this-
go football next week. Let's go trucking questions with Kumar,
because
Joel.
this is a
Yeah,
sports
maybe
show.
Lee. Maybe
It's a
Lee will be
sports
on
show.
next week so we can make fun of him. since
Yeah, he
thought
just
Alabama
texted
was
me.
going to win.
Lee actually, so he just texted me. He had no service. He was driving. He was going to call in, but he did lose because I took Georgia. Me and him bet on the show last week. He took Alabama, and
I
Georgia
should have
won.
bet last week too.
He owes me.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
He owes me a steak dinner. So that's your sports. We're a sports
Yeah.
show that talks about trucking.
That's
You owe
it.
30 people a steak
Straight to
dinner.
the division next week. You ready?
Okay, Joel, trucking questions
All
with
right,
Kumar.
Sticking with trucking. Kumar, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, question 1. All air brake equipped vehicles have what? A, an air use gauge. B, a supply pressure gauge. C, a brake heat gauge. Or D, a hydraulic brake gauge. All air brake equipped vehicles have what?
Hydraulic brake gauge.
Is that your final answer, Kumar?
I think so.
Okay, drivers.
So who's got who here as far as money goes?
I'm gonna go for the second one. Whatever the
I
second one was.
didn't hear all of them.
We'll say this one's for fun since
All
we did the
air
St.
brake
Jude's Day.
equipment vehicles
Okay.
have what?
Since
An
St.
air
Jude's.
use gauge, a supply pressure gauge, a brake heat gauge, or a hydraulic brake gauge.
So basically, one of these are right. The rest are wrong. On an air brake vehicle, you've got an air use gauge, a supply pressure gauge,
a brake heat gauge,
a brake
or
heat gauge, or
D,
a hydraulic
brake gauge.
gauge.
I'm
which
gonna go
is-
with supply pressure gauge. Supply pressure
Yep.
gauge.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I'm gonna go with the second one.
Yep,
Supply
they're right.
gauge.
Supply pressure
Ah.
gauge. He said hydraulic. I wrote the answers. It was Joel's
Didn't
question.
we get a chance to change it?
I
Oh,
knew
you're
it.
wrong.
I knew hydraulic was going to get him.
Yeah.
And what'd you say, Doty and Christian, about who's paying?
Oh, I said since
Cody
we did
said
the
do it
St.
for
Jude's
fun.
today,
So-
we'll do it for fun. But if
Yeah,
wanna-
we can do it for fun this week, and we'll come up with another plan for going forward.
Well,
I
I
will
want
s-
to make Christian lose some money. So, Christian, you want to bet on me?
No, I'll do that. Russ, I'll take that bet.
Okay,
We're
take
gonna have
take that
questions
bet.
when you set me
If you
up.
intentionally sink this ship, then it's going to be a hard trip down to Roanoke.
Yeah,
Eat a hamburger.
and we are coming on the 17th. I think that's the date you guys talked
I'm going
about.
to
for sure.
Cookout.
We're going to talk
I will say though, Kumar forgot to send the pick'ems out last
Oh.
week to you guys.
I was
and
wondering about that.
He totally dropped the ball. So we just skipped last week and we
skip the
rolled.
wild card. We'll skip 18.
We're going. He sent them for the wild card weekend. So when you guys see your pick'ems, get them in before this weekend. We got wild card weekend coming up this weekend, and then next week we'll get on to I don't know. We'll find another way to
We'll do
Yeah,
something.
pay
Saturday
somebody.
through Monday. Wild card
I was really hoping we just
All right.
pass over that, but
1-0, my guys. Drivers,
Right.
1-0. No,
6 games. Get your picks in. Question 2: how many gallons of oil can a semi-engine hold, Kumar? Is it A, 12? Is it B, 15? Is it C, 18? Is it D, 22?
18.
He says 18. How many gallons, Ray, Jim Mackey, Kevin, Nate?
Okay, so is
12?
my truck
15?
holds 12.
Oh, where did you get these answers at, Joel?
Yeah, mine
Small
holds
truck.
12.
This is awkward.
What would you say,
You're a Dodge.
Jim?
Well,
Kevin?
15 could
Well-
be right too, because the Cummins engine cats use 13 to 15 gallons or something.
We are playing for fun.
Okay.
Well, the answer we're looking for.
Joel's answer
It's
that was
12.
correct was 15.
15 technically. He backed me up there. I guess they
Was
can.
that a couple gallons?
At least
of
12.
sleeper for reserve?
It wasn't 18. He's got a couple gallons in the side box. So definitely wasn't 18, Kumar. So you got that one wrong.
In my
You're
case,
wrong.
mine's all over the deck. But that's
My first choice was
It
24.
depends
I'm
on the
glad I didn't go
mileage.
with that one.
22.
Hey Joel, can
22.
you start?
Yeah.
Can you before the show every week? Can maybe the day before you start running your questions and
Tell a
answers
joke.
by Christian to make sure that they're right?
I'm the one that said it was a 3706 Caterpillar, Russ. I'm not sure that we
I-
want to do that.
I think we're gonna have to hire a fact checker.
That's why he's not betting anymore.
Yeah. All right. 2-0 drivers.
All right. So, in remembrance of the Bulldogs, question 3 in the song Devil Went Down to Georgia. After chicken in the bread pan picking out dough, what kind of pet did Granny have? Was it A, a cat? Was it B, a bird? Was it C, a dog? Or was it D, a chicken?
I don't like any of these questions.
Chicken in the
Yeah.
bread pan picking out dough.
A
What's
dog. Wait.
Next verse.
I
So they
hate
said-
you.
What'd you say?
I
Think
Dog?
of the Tenacious
Is that your final answer?
The Tenacious D version?
I thought you were.
All right. He
Pick a
said
Destiny.
dog. Drivers. What was it?
They don't know either.
Dog.
They said dog too.
Chicken in the
Oh,
bread
dog.
pan
But
picking out dough.
If Kumar gets it right, he gets the point. It was dog.
No child.
Granny does
Yeah.
a dog bite, no child knows.
It's 2-1.
Only one of
Dog.
us got to get it right, right?
But
So I'll
here
just
I
take
gotta.
that.
I want to point this out though. So I wrote the questions. All right,
Dogs.
Joel wrote the questions. I just had Zach type them up, and I changed chicken to pig.
Yeah, it is written as pig.
And because if the chicken's in the bread pan picking up dough, why would that be the pet she had? So I changed it
That's
to
why it's
pig.
D. We always have
And then
So he's reading off the other sheet.
he's reading the. He's not even reading the answers that he got typed up for him. He changed it to
He
pig.
still got it
chicken.
right. That's all right.
I win, Joel loses.
Read off the sheet that was typed up for you, Joel.
Question 4. How many miles is it driving down Cabbage Patch in I-84? They're in Oregon. How many miles from top to bottom or east to west? Kumar,
We'll give him the choices.
Give him the choices.
I was gonna say.
of all the times you've been there, how many miles?
We got that. What's the choices?
He's never been there.
He
Is
doesn't
it
have
A,
the sheet.
7? Is it B, 9? Is it C, 14? Is it D, 11 miles? Thought I said that.
7, 9, 14, or 11. Down Cabbage from the top. It's on I-84. In,
You know, I-84. You know
Oregon.
exactly
Yeah.
what the
hey, you've been in trucking long enough to know this.
island. Flashlight.
7.
He says 7. Drivers? I know
9.
Mackie knows.
9.
You said 9?
Why don't
He
we
said-
ask
you
somebody
said
who's been over
9?
the CDL?
All right.
Ray?
Why don't we ask Google?
The guy who doesn't have a CDL.
Ray said 10. That wasn't even one of the answers.
He's not reading off your
So-
sheet.
11.
So-
It's 11.
11.
So
It's
far,
11.
no, that's wrong too. Kumar got it
Oh,
right.
yes, he
it
did.
was 7.
Great.
How to
Yeah.
cut cabbage.
And Joel, do you have the right sheet? Can you read the fun fact?
Fun fact, cabbage is one of the most hazardous stretches of road on I-84 in Oregon. I thought you were going to say one of the most gaseous foods you can eat.
Do children live around this Cabbage Patch?
He's never
No.
been there. And
There's-
he got
They
it
all
right.
look exactly the same.
There's a casino down at the bottom, and right there when you hit Hermiston, Oregon, it's just a little north of I-84.
Okay.
The Donners settlers, I think, had trouble.
Yeah.
with
I've
that
been
word.
So no Cabbage Patch Kids there?
no.
No Cabbage
No.
Patch Kids are frozen.
All right, so Kumar got that one. It's 2-2.
There might be some hills have eyes, kids.
Hey guys, it's tied 2-2.
You're not
So
welcome
who's,
if you got a little mustache.
I'm hating you a little less right now, Kumar. Just,
yeah, it's 2-2.
Thank
Joel,
you.
what's the fifth
Comeback
question?
season,
All right.
baby.
Come on, drivers.
Question 5. Recap tires should A, not be used on any semis. B, not be used on trucks hauling more than 40,000 pounds. C, not be used on steer axles. D, not be used on drive axles.
So recap tires, Kumar. They're not. Read the answers one more time for him,
And
Joel.
think this through.
One more time. the answer.
Recap tires should A, not be used on any semis. Should B, not be used on trucks hauling more than 40,000 pounds. C, not be used on steer axles. Or D, not be used on drive axles.
That's a great question for him. He never gets it. I'm betting
25%.
he doesn't get this. There's
my
no
gosh.
way.
How
Oh,
much?
you got to think it through, man.
That's what he said he gets for Bama.
Recap.
Didn't we have this question already?
I've never heard it.
Episode 6.
Coombs watched all the episodes.
Coom,
we'll go.
If you were driving the truck, man, answer the question.
Not over 40,000 pounds.
40 pounds.
Drivers,
40,000 pounds.
drivers.
Not be used on
You're
steer
a
axles.
You
Steer
are a
axles,
loser.
Kumar.
I don't even know what recap means.
What's a steer axle?
What's a tire?
If you took a
Yeah, I
cap
guess
off
that
your
would help.
soda and then you
Maybe you
recapped
should have
your soda,
reworded
what
it
would
to
you do with that
retread.
soda?
Retreads, recaps, whatever you want to call it.
You know what a retread is?
Regrooved.
I regret taking this bet.
You know what
So
a tire is?
Christian
You
owes
can't-
$20 to whatever we decide. We're moving on to the next thing. Kumar, can you write that down?
Yeah.
You lost.
Steers.
My guys won. Christian owes $20 to the next campaign, which we don't know what it is yet. But make sure you write that down.
Sorry,
You know,
Christian.
Christian, it's questions with Kumar. I think Christian one week should have one of his office people in battle with Kumar.
agree
rather than the
100%.
I like
driver-
that idea.
driver.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do it. So that's a great idea. Actually.
I'll let you guys
Questions
pick
with-
which one.
We could
If
do
you
it
want to
right
watch
now.
somebody,
Questions
if you
with
want to watch
Christian's
somebody
office
sweat,
guy.
if you want to watch somebody sweat, it would be Brian. You want to watch somebody that fail and just kind of move past it like he looks cool, that'd be Chris.
I know Chris and Lois.
No, I
I
think
was thinking,
so.
I was thinking Chris whenever
think-
he said it. So
Yeah.
I think you pick whoever you think would be a good matchup for Kumar. Not someone that would blow him out of the water, but who do you think would be?
You know
a
what we
good
should do?
matchup?
We should have all of them. I've got a conference table here, put them
Yeah.
all there and have them all answer the questions. And whoever answers the most right wins. And that way you can see how well in depth the team is. up
we
here.
can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tell them, just let us know, Christian, whenever they want to do it. And we'll do
Yeah.
questions with Kumar right at the beginning of the show.
Sounds good.
That'll be
I'm
funny.
on board 100%.
Happy birthday, like I said, to Ray and everybody else that we mentioned. Ray, I don't have Facebook, so I didn't really know it was your birthday. I don't remember people's birthdays, but your wife texted me. So when you get home, give her a big hug and let her know. Thank you for doing that. She texted me and wanted to make sure I mentioned you on the show. Happy birthday.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That came
All
from
right.
your wife.
Ray
appreciate it, guys.
Nayato.
And with that, you guys got anything else?
Yeah, I want to take
Yeah.
a minute to thank everybody that participated, Wesley Rolls and the drivers and everybody that really got everything going for the St. Jude's. That was an awesome moment, and that's
It
something
was.
to be proud of. So that's
Yeah,
that's excellent
$5,000,
getting that.
probably
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
over that by the time we
Yes.
send them the check.
And Mandy, thank you
Wow.
again for putting everything
Mandy,
over the top
yes.
at the end. Yep.
Yes.
Gunnar Miller won his match.
Gunnar Miller won his match. Well, today's episode of Talkin Truckin was brought to you by Truckworks Kenworth of Dothan, Alabama. We need to get Brian back on the show soon and talk a little truck market. That'd be interesting. Over the road apparel, work clothes for the modern day trucker. Prime Wellness and Performance in San Antonio, Texas. That's Ray's cousin, Louis Vasquez, NFL Super Bowl champ. That's his place. Al's Quality Market in Barberton. My buddy Denny that owns that. The Gator Drive-Thru in Portage Lakes. And be sure to comment, like, and subscribe and follow us on all social media. Talkin Truckin, no G's.
No BS.
Kumar, you got anything?
Rest in peace, Bob Saget.
Bob Saget,
Saw that.
Danny Tanner.
That's all.
If you don't have anything else, go Browns, go Indians, and go Cavaliers.
Go Guardians.
Go Guardians. Jeez, I'm never gonna get it. It's gonna be opening day, and I'm gonna still say Indians.